really just want to take a quick second to recognize all the partners and the leaders that really help programs like this, events like this, possible. So thank you to our host, our presenting sponsor, Rio Salado College and the Maricopa County Community College District, our platinum sponsors, Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport and Salt River. I know you're in the house. Go ahead, let's give it up. All right. And our copper sponsors, Arizona State University and State Farm. I know they're in the house too. And I'd just like also to recognize our community champions and those organizations who really invest in the Tempe Chamber and help us build a very strong, sustainable business community right here in Tempe. So thank you to Arizona State University, AV Concepts, BD, and the City of Tempe, Edward Jones, Rio Salado College, and Salt River Project. Thank you all so very much for your continued support. We do have like several community and city and education leaders with us this morning. I just want to take a moment to recognize them. So I'm going to do my best to get it all right if I can. And I just want to say that their partnership and their engagement and just them taking the time to show up here today means a lot. And you can see how much they really care about this community. So thank you all for what you do. So from the City of Tempe, of course, the one and only Mayor, your Mayor, Corey Woods. Whoa. Yeah, Mayor. Hey, Mayor, why don't you just go ahead and keep standing up? Because, I want everybody to watch you for a little bit. And Vice Mayor Doreen Garland. Go ahead, stay standing. I think I saw Council Member Nikki Amberg. Yes. And let's see. Oh, yes, Council Member and Tempe Union High School District Governing Board Member Burdetta Hodge. Now, I don't think they're with us. We've got, obviously, Randy Keating, Jennifer Adams, and Arlene Chim, who are not with us here today, but we definitely do appreciate them. And I see our Deputy City Manager, Keith Burke. Please stand. There is your city leadership. Thank you all so very much. Good job. And I heard from the city of Scottsdale, we have Councilwoman Marianne McAllen. Is she here today? Yes, there she is. Nice. Thank you, Councilwoman, for being with us here today. And from the Maricopa County Community College District, Dr. Kate Smith, of course. Go ahead, stand up, Kate. Stay standing. Stay. I know we can barely tell you're standing, but that's okay. Dr. Stephen, a.k.a. Jorge Gonzalez, Dr. Linda Thor, and Miss Marie Sullivan, who is a governing board member. Please stand. Thank you. And from the Tempe Union High School District, we have board member Andres Barraza. I believe he was here. Yep, there he is. I saw him. And Superintendent Dr. Stacey Wilson. Dr. Wilson, thank you all. Leading our youth, we much appreciate that. Thank you. And I know from representing the U.S. Senator Ruben Gallego's office, we have State Director Abigail O'Brien. Is she here or is she upstairs? I think she's still upstairs. Okay, very good. All right. And from our state legislature, Representative Janine Conley, District 8, right there. I know Janine's very excited about this week. I've heard all about it. We got 22 bills. It's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good week, Janine. You got this. We're glad we got you there. And I'm also very honored to recognize the leaders who guide our mission, the Chamber's mission, and our strategic direction. And I like to call them my bosses. The Tempe Chamber Board of Directors. We have with us our chair, Laura Briscoe is here. Laura, go ahead, stand up. Incoming chair, Zach Heim. Past chair, Tom Bingy. Nick Bastian. Dee Guerrero Esparza. I know she's here. Electa Thompson. Dr. Kate Smith. Matt Heil. Michael Martin. Patrick Carlson. Paul Quinn. Stacy Billings. And the one, Timmy G. Gomez. Thank you guys all so very much for what you do. Thank you for your leadership. Now it is my pleasure to invite Dr. Stephen Gonzalez, Chancellor of the Maricopa County Community College District, to share a few words.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So I saw in the program that I'm Jorge Gonzalez today, which is that's not true. My name is Stephen. I want to share a really quick funny story. When I shared it with the group upstairs a moment ago. when I was in high school, I was a wrestler, and the local newspaper guy came by to take some pictures of us wrestling. And I was out on the mat, and my friends, my teammates were on the sidelines, cheering me on. The guy's snapping pictures, and he says, "Hey, what's the name of the wrestler that's out there right now?" And my teammates, being the kind of guys that they were, they said, "Oh, that's George. That's George Gonzalez." So if you don't know, Jorge translates to George. So this is the second time. Maybe that should be my name. I'm not sure here. But anyhow, I just want to welcome you all here to Rio Salado College on behalf of the many faculty, staff, and students across Maricopa County community colleges. We're really happy to partner with the Tempe Chamber this way, with all of the elected officials in the room, with those that are out working in places where we partner with you as the Maricopa colleges. We just want to say thank you. We always stand ready to partner with you and you in different ways, and excited about those opportunities that would come forward. I want to thank the Senator for being here today. Senator Gallego has been a champion of community colleges. He has helped fight to maintain our status as minority serving institutions. He has also helped preserve very important funding for student success. There's a TRIO grant that most of our colleges have been able to count on for the last few decades. Those were in peril last year, and he fought with the Arizona delegation to ensure that we continue to receive those important dollars to help all of our students in Maricopa colleges. So again, thank you, Senator Gallego. We appreciate that. In case you don't know it, we serve approximately 160,000 students a year at this point. We are the largest provider of workforce development. We educate more Arizonans than any other institution of higher education. The other important part about the programs that we provide is that 90% of our graduates stay in Maricopa County upon completion of the programs. So we're growing homegrown talent, and they stay here. We don't experience any of the brain drain that other institutions might experience. So for that, we're very proud. Again, thank you for being here, and thank you for the opportunity to welcome you. Signing off is Jorge Gonzalez here.
It must be part of that wrestling mentality. He's a very good sport, too. So, excellent. Thank you, Robert. We definitely appreciate you. And now I'm excited to introduce our MC this morning, Matt Heil from the Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport. He wears many hats for the Tempe Chamber. He is also chair of the Tempe Chamber's Public Policy and Government Affairs Committee. He was recently our moderator for our City Council Candidate Forum. And Matt has been just a very strong advocate for our business community and is a very valued chamber leader. So in addition to serving as our MC, Matt will also share a few sponsor remarks on behalf of Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport. Matt, thank you for your leadership, for your partnership. This program is all yours.
One second while I get my notes. I always try to do technology and it never quite works. Thank you, Robin, and on behalf of Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport, welcome to this federal briefing. As I was listening to Robin, I was reminded once again how something as simple as strong partnerships can make all the difference when it comes to business and community success. Today's event really exemplifies that for me, as we get a glimpse into what's happening at the federal level. Without our surrounding communities, the local concessionaires, and most importantly, Sky Harbor's 47,000 plus workforce that comes from across the valley and includes our essential federal workers at the FAA, TSA, and CBP, the economic engine that is Phoenix Sky Harbor could not run. Without these partnerships and relationships, we could not be America's friendliest airport, and we could not meet the needs of our community. We are proud to be members of the Chamber and partners with the Chamber and support today's discussion. And is the Senator with us? Okay, great. And particularly today, the value of strong partnerships with our elected leaders in Washington, D.C. cannot be overstated. So I am truly pleased to welcome a staunch advocate for our community and state, U.S. Arizona Senator Ruben Gallego. How are you?
Good.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you for letting me do my part. I get to say a little spiel about you,
Oh,
unless you're ready to start.
Oh, I can start. Well, yeah, you don't have to say the spiel.
Okay.
I know many of you guys for almost decades. As a matter of fact, Matt and I have known each other since we were both staffers at the city of Phoenix.
I wasn't going to say how long ago that was.
You were, I think you were chief of staff for Tom Simplot back in the day.
Oh, no, I was a council aide.
I was council. Wait, I was a council. I don't remember. But anyway, so almost 2 decades now, but we look quite young still. Right?
Agreed.
Well, thank you everyone for being here. I greatly appreciate it, especially with everything that is going on right now in the country. Want to make sure I'm getting the indication of, oh, here's my prepared notes. I drive my staff nuts because sometimes they prepare notes and most of the time I don't actually use them, which is awful when you're a former staffer like myself because that used to drive me nuts at the same time. But thank you, Matt, Sky Harbor, the Tempe Chamber of Commerce, Tempe City Council that's here for having me. And I love making these updates, largely because there's so much that goes on in Washington, D.C., and a lot of times, as much as we are in it, we forget that the rest of our community, the community that we represent, is just wondering what the heck is going on. So I really look forward to kind of being here and giving you the update. We're going to have a Q&A, and I think we'll be opening up for questions at some point too, so we could ask some questions. But really the year started off with quite a bang. When I say that, I really do mean that. I actually was in Puerto Rico on January 4th, and I was driving my family to the airport to start sending them back. Some were going back to DC, I was coming back to Phoenix. My father-in-law and mother-in-law were going back to California, and all of a sudden everything just came to a halt and a stop. And I got a little alert on my phone that some of us get in the Senate that I need to call in, and that's when we found out that we had just attacked Venezuela. That was just essentially a month and a half ago, if you want to think about what's going on right now. Right. We quickly moved into some very serious situations in terms of federal law enforcement in Minnesota, where we saw 2 Americans die at the hands of federal agents in 2.5 weeks. And now we moved into a shutdown, a partial shutdown when it comes to DHS, which, obviously we have the airport here, will at some point potentially involve TSA. We had been hoping that wasn't the case. At the beginning of this year, we were working to make sure that we funded the government in all appropriate levels, finally, instead of going from one CR to another, from one shutdown to the other, because we need some certainty, and I think both the business community as well as just for our voters out there. We had been working earnestly, and I was, had worked and negotiated with my Republican colleagues to make sure that we were doing the Road to Housing plan to try and increase housing. You've heard it all. I'm sure if you have children right now, they'll tell you that they cannot buy a house or they can barely afford that apartment. We have people that are in 3% mortgage homes that do not want to leave their homes, even though they need to expand. I'm one of those people. I'm on kid number 3. I have a 2.9% mortgage, and I have a house that's busting at the seams with kids and toys. I mean, if you come to my place, make sure you wear shoes. You will step on a toy. But it is sinful financially for me to leave a 3% mortgage in order to get a smaller house. And what does that mean for everyone else downstream? We've had business community that is asking for more certainty. I co-led a bill with another colleague of mine called Investing in the Main Street Act, which allows banks to actually loan small businesses money to make sure they can actually invest and have the certainty to be invest at faster and bring things to the market faster, especially working in other areas too with the CDFIs, organizations such as Chicanos por la Causa, Urban League, these groups that are very, very important in making sure that we're sharing in the financial wealth across all of our communities. As I talked to you on the housing side, I was working with another colleague of mine, Todd Young from Indiana, to allow people to basically borrow $50,000 from their 401k or IRA tax-free to buy a house. And if you're a couple, you can each borrow $50,000. So it's $100,000 towards a down payment for a house. Why does that matter? Well, if you look at the average home price right now, it's about $450,000. at a 6.5% APR, you're asking for a big monthly payment that is very, very difficult for a lot of people to afford. We now have a situation where the average home owner's age is 40. Right, that's the highest it's ever been in this country. For a lot of us young Arizonans, it was not that uncommon for us to buy a house at 25, 26. That is unheard of in this generation just below me. We have young men and women, I'm 46, younger than me, that are retirement rich but house poor. Right, they have hundreds of thousands of dollars locked away at their retirement, but their whole retirement is going to basically be gone because they're going to, if they get to that point, they're not going to have any even affordable housing to really be a benchmark for it. This new generation, this younger generation of Americans, if we don't really change the course of this country, will be the poorest generation of Americans in the history of this country since the Great Depression. Generational wealth does come a lot from housing, and right now that basic housing is just not even there. We'll continue obviously work on as much as we can to change that path, but it is a true worry of mine, knowing how important housing is. We have continuing the fight on healthcare. As we saw last year, there was massive cuts to Medicaid, something that is going to have deep impact this year. My rural hospitals, I'm deathly worried about. Many of them are already basically on shoestring budgets. Cutting 10%, 15% of the Medicaid population may close some of these clinics that we've been traveling to Cochise County, Yuma County, talking to a lot of our rural clinics there, and they're desperately worried about what's going to happen. We had a last but definitely two last things that I'm working and watching. Energy. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Your energy bills are going up. That's happening everywhere in this country. Some of it is due to demand. We have a good problem in this state. People want to move here. People want to start jobs here. And we have great jobs that are being created right now, right? If you look at what's happening with TSMC, we have a lot of high-tech manufacturing moving here. We have data centers that are also a part of the mix here and drawing some of that energy. And we have people that want to move here and, well, it gets hot. So we want to make sure we have air conditioning. That energy that energy demand is growing and growing. And so we are working with our Republican friends to try to introduce permitting reform to make sure that we are able to build energy that we need faster. We're also signing on with another Republican, Senator Rich, to make sure that there is more investment and more backing for nuclear. As many of you know, we have 30% of our energy mix in Arizona is nuclear. We have one of the safest nuclear power plants in the country. Nuclear is safe, clean energy, and it can the new technology that's coming up can actually scale up as demand happens. So as the data centers, as these TSMCs, as housing keeps growing, instead of having to go to a new process, putting down a new line, you could actually just add more and more capacity to these nuclear power plants. But there's so much more we need to be doing, including bringing back investments in solar energy that we've had in the past that are now declining. So we're a little busy, as you could tell. I'm very happy to report, though, you have a great delegation that is working hard every day. Right now, our biggest concern is the Colorado River Compact. Sorry, the 8-month-old baby last night was not great. The Colorado River Compact was basically just punted to the administration. Interior Secretary Burgum is going to be coming down with a decision. We truly did a great job as a state, and I'm sure you have some people here that will tell you, compared to any of the other lower basin states, Arizona was leading the way in terms of conservation. We did voluntary cuts. We cut deals with some of our Native American tribal nations to keep water behind the dam. We had farmers that followed their land to make sure that we were doing our part to keep the Colorado River healthy. That cannot be said for the upper basin states of Colorado, Utah, and other states. They have less of a population and less of a demand, but wanted to take no part in the conservation going forward of this state. And, while it's unfortunate we couldn't get a deal together, I do believe that the outcome from the department here will be better than what the Republicans, sorry, not the Republicans, because this was actually a bipartisan thing, upper basin senators, members of Congress, and governors were offering. It would have ended up having a disproportionate cut to Arizona. It would have affected our economy all the way up and down, whether it was, from a high-end manufacturing to housing to our agricultural community. And it would have certainly set us, I think, in a direction that would have slowed down the economy and the growth that we have been working so desperately to do. And it did not give any recognition at all for the years and years of sacrifice and investment that the taxpayer of Arizona did to conserve water. So I think we're going to have a more favorable outcome. I think it's also in the interest of the nation for us to have a more favorable outcome. The population that is downriver, down the lower basin, is a growing population. The GDP of this country is entirely going to be dependent on what happens now. If you see where the investment's happening in terms of chips and high manufacturing, it is in the lower basin states. And hopefully the federal government aligns water usage to where they want to see economic growth. And I think if they do that, then we will have a very favorable outcome. And of course, Arizona has always been an innovator in water conservation, will continue to do so, but we could use a little extra hand here and there. So thank you so much, and I look forward to taking some questions.
Thank you, Senator, so much for those insights. I'm going to invite Tempe Mayor Corey Woods up and Robin Arredondo Savage for our fireside chat portion. Please get a seat. I'll give you this microphone.
Oh, okay, right here.
Yeah, that would be.
Before we start, the senator talks about having an 8-month-old, and that kind of messed you up. Well, I don't even have that excuse. I just kind of messed up. So I'm going to own it and say, obviously, I did skip right over Salt River Project. Yes. SRP is one of our main amazing sponsors. We are so thankful to have them. And I want to just ask Robert Kogan, can you kind of back up in here and talk a little bit about what's going on with SRP? Because we want to say thank you so much for your platinum sponsorship. It wouldn't have happened without you. So thank you so much. Oh, thank you, everybody. Yeah, go ahead. You can laugh. Sorry. My bad.
Good to see you too. Well, I can relate to the story about the 8-month-old and being up at night, and you have my full sympathies there. So good morning. My name's Robert Kogan, Senior Director of Federal Affairs for SRP. Certainly my privilege to be here today to represent the more than 5,000 SRP team members working every day to deliver the reliable, affordable, and sustainable water and energy that Senator Gallego was referring to. SRP is proud to partner with the Tempe Chamber for today's event, but more importantly, I think throughout the year, as they connect businesses, key stakeholders, and elected officials to work side by side in pursuit of a thriving Arizona. Big thank you to Robin and her team for their incredible work that they do to represent the Tempe business community. Really looking forward to this morning's conversation, and I want to thank Senator Gallego for his leadership in Washington. As he mentioned, he recently introduced the ARC Act, legislation that creates and funds a risk reduction program to accelerate investment in advanced nuclear projects by providing a backstop for construction cost overrun. Legislation he's certainly well suited to carry as the top Democrat on the Energy Subcommittee. So really appreciate that. And I just also want to personally thank and acknowledge Senator Gallego's focus on securing Arizona's water future. I recently introduced the Water Security and Drought Resiliency Act, which provides parity for Arizona and the Verde sediment study once that feasibility study is completed. This is a really important and large step, and we're just really grateful for the Senator's ongoing support and commitment. So thank you. Yeah.
So, Senator, quick thing. You talked a little bit about housing affordability during your talk, and it's something that's touched me on a very personal level. I mean, I hear about it all the time from Tempe residents. I know the entire council hears concerns about housing affordability. I mean, you and I are virtually the same age. I'm 47, so barely older, but I've been renting in downtown Tempe for about 6 years now, and I'm looking to buy another home. But the challenge has been, it's been very, very difficult with home prices and interest rates to frankly get back in, especially if you don't have a house to sell. So I was going to ask you, I mean, it's a big deal for me personally, but I know it's a big deal for our nearly 200,000 residents and a lot of our graduating students at the university and here at Maricopa Community Colleges. What do you think we can do? What are some of the concrete steps we can do to address affordability for Tempe residents, but also for Arizonans in general?
Okay. Well, the most important thing is you need to get supply on the market as fast as possible. And the supply, putting supply in the market obviously will at least start bringing down the costs. Now getting to the finance part, that is where it gets difficult, right? If you look at a good example, I helped my mom buy her first house in high school, and the house that she bought was about $160,000. She used an FHA loan, 3.5% down, and even though their interest rates were a little higher, it was an affordable monthly amount, right? Right now, if you try to buy a home in Maricopa County, this is a starter home, it's probably going to be closer to $500,000, right? In certain areas, it'll be higher than that. So even if you get the FHA loan at 3.5%, you're looking at a down payment close to $20,000 after you're all in. And if you don't hit that, then you have to do PMI. So now you're already high interest rates, your monthly payment, I should say, plus now you're paying PMI insurance. It ends up just being priced out. So one of the things that we did in the Road to Housing bill is to try to increase supply. And the way we need to increase supply is that we need to treat all housing as stock and get it out as fast as possible. So what does that mean? We need to end the kind of NIMBYism that is really killing this generation's ability to buy a home. We added language in there to make it easier for people to build apartments, right? Apartments are an important part of that stock. A lot of times, and a lot of people just do not want apartments near their neighborhood. There's some, I could understand certainly, in terms of traffic, but there's a lot of areas where, you need to have apartments. When I was at the city with Matt, whenever we would do zoning, everyone would always say, like, we need apartments, but just not in my neighborhood. And the best for me was I would hear, go to these community meetings and they'd be like, do you know the type of people that live in apartments? People would tell me this. I'm like, yeah, me. I grew up in an apartment until I was 18. My mom did pretty well. She ended up sending, a couple kids to Ivy League schools. We have one doctor, a teacher, a businesswoman. I mean, I might be the derelict of the family, actually. But that needs to go there. Now, the fact is, because of NIMBYism, it is a lot of developers just won't take chances on building housing. And no one's really building the kind of like smaller pocket apartments that a lot of us saw growing up, like, for example, duplexes and triplexes, because of the cost overrun. So we are incentivizing people being able to borrow money to do that. Manufactured housing. I'm sure a lot of us had this stigma about manufactured housing growing up, the trailer homes, right? That they were of lower quality. And that, they were supposed to be in just designated areas. Like, I live in South Phoenix. There's a trailer home park, I would say 5 blocks from where I live, older style trailer homes. They're still important housing stock. But right now, there actually are beautiful, what are considered manufactured housing that you could not tell the difference between stick and mortar housing, that are significantly cheaper to build and put on site and faster. And that's when, you can go from $500,000 home to a $200,000 home. Problem is that there's a lot of places, and I'm not going to mention names, that zone out this type of housing, right? So if you find a little plot of land in the city, for example, let's say Phoenix, and you wanted to go build on it, you could only build the traditional stick and stone style, right? You couldn't go and buy from Kafko Home, which is actually headquartered here in Arizona, a nice manufactured home, put it on there, and you could get something really nice for $120,000 and get all in, have a home on land, hooked up in less than 4 months with electricity from SRP, if you're lucky. Just kidding. Pinnacle West, don't be pissed at me. But they're there. Okay, sorry. But again, we need to make it easier for them to be able to do that. And affordable housing is important. There's I'm going to give you guys a really dumb government regulation. The United States decides how they give out housing vouchers based on the population of your state from what year? Who wants to take a guess? 1990. So Arizona is receiving significantly less housing vouchers right now because the government has not changed its formula. Now, the reason that is because some of the older states benefit from that because they end up getting more housing vouchers, right? If for the Chamber of Commerce, I'm sure you guys use, there are more people that have moved to Arizona since 1990 than people that have ever lived here from 1990 prior. Now, why does housing vouchers matter to the supply? Again, you have X amount of money that the cities get, right? The counties get. They can work with developers to make sure there's manufactured housing or some type of apartment housing. You're putting more supply out there. But because the government hasn't changed the rules, we are at a deficit. I've actually introduced legislation to do that, to upgrade the laws. I've actually was this close last year during the Biden administration to getting the housing, the head of the Department of Housing, HUD, director to actually change it, because you're actually allowed to change it as a director. And then she decided to retire the next day. I'm like, oh, I hit so close. But again, everything. So on the finance side, you need to make it easier for people to finance this. We need to start thinking about, can we put a program together? This is one of my solutions in the housing plan, where instead of doing 3.5% down first-time homebuyer loans, what about 1% down, right? If you have good credit, if you go through a credit management online course, because that's when you can start seeing people really start breaking out and being able to buy that first starter home. Because the people that are around our age that are just a little younger, they don't have $20,000 down payment, right? They're not that cash liquid. So we need to figure out how to get them to the first home. They could kind of start building their way up there without exposing ourselves to kind of the problems that happened in 2008. But we also need to understand timing matters. Get the housing stock as high as possible, as fast as possible. If you don't do that, you're always going to be falling behind, right? Unlike California, we actually build stuff here faster in Arizona than in other states. Especially other states are very heavily regulated. Our problem is we're still trying to keep up from COVID, right? So in order for us to really bring cost down, supply on, we have to emphasize timing. So for local governments, I really encourage faster permitting, right? Faster permitting as possible, so that way we can get that supply there. If we can get the supply on there faster, then we'll eventually be able to catch up here in Arizona. Other states might be in a different situation, but for us, because we have relatively fast building, less regulations, anything we can do to bring supply on faster will end up, I think, bringing also the cost down.
Nice. All right, I got another one for you. We talk about affordability, and I think everybody here is a little concerned about healthcare and prescriptions. And especially, I think, when it comes to, not only our taxpayers, but our business owners. So maybe could you talk a little bit about how we can improve the affordability and the access and what that looks like?
It is so opaque how people pay for their pharmaceuticals, right? If you're in a very good insurance program, your insurance program will negotiate for you, right? So hopefully that's the case. If you don't, you take your chances by going to the pharmacy. And sometimes, even if you're not insured, sometimes it is cheaper for you to buy directly from the pharmacy than through your insurance. And then if you're under one of the other programs, Medicare Advantage, Advantage or Medicare Part D and B, then it's a totally different one. And then there's also what happens when you get it directly from the hospital. The prices are all over the place. Part of the problem is that there is no direct correlation between demand and supply, between the buyer, the pharmacy, and the patient, because there's a whole system middlemen in here that basically get to get in the middle of this and basically get to take the advantage of the price difference between what the manufacturer sells, what the pharmaceutical company or the pharmacist gets, and what the insurance company negotiates. These things called PBMs. So we've been working for years to try to reform that. It was pretty close, actually, at the beginning of last year to get that done. Taking out the middleman, it's going to be really, really important to that. Then the price can go directly to the consumer, and the savings can go directly to the consumer right now. So if you are an insurance company and you, let's just do simple math. If you're an insurance company, you represent 1 million people. Right now, you're not directly negotiating with, Bayer for whatever drug. you have a middleman that's negotiating that for you, and that middleman will also at the same time take a cut, and now they actually own the pharmacies, right? So there is a lot of integration that has happened in that world that is driving up the cost. There's just no competition, right? The days of even having local pharmacies that are owned by your neighbors are almost non-existent, right? If you remember growing up, we had a lot of options. Well, right now you're down to CVS, you're down to Walgreens for your local places, and then you got your stores and you got Costco, and that's about it, right? I actually only know of two community-owned pharmacies in all of Phoenix, and a place this big. We need to have more competition when it comes to that. When it comes to government, if you look at what we do to cost saves, just have cost savings. The DoD, Department of Defense, is the second largest buyer of pharmaceutical drugs in this country, right? It represents millions of men and women and retirees. They negotiate with the pharmaceutical companies for their drug pricing, right? Because they're focused on the warrior, not necessarily on the healthcare side, but they know they have to do both, but they negotiate that. The VA, right? Another huge institution. They negotiate for their pharmaceutical pricing to make sure that they're getting the top dollar and are able to save as much money and put it back into the VA. Medicaid, same thing. Access, as we call it here in Arizona, negotiates to make sure that they're getting top dollar. But the largest buyer of drugs in this country, largest system in this country, is Medicare. Medicare is not allowed to negotiate for drug pricing. We started doing some of that under President Biden. We started seeing almost instant savings to the taxpayer, billions of dollars. But we're doing it on a staggered level. We're doing 10 prescriptions here, 5 prescriptions there, but we're not doing a system-wide negotiation. If we did what the DoD did and the VA did, it's estimated that we would save $30 billion a year to the taxpayer alone by just negotiating it. Now, there's ways you have to make sure you give time, obviously, to some of the new drugs to recoup their costs, because it takes a lot of money to actually build some of these very good therapies, and they're very expensive. But what's happening now is that it's not only after 10, 15 years when they're about to go generics, sometimes they get bought out by a private equity company, and they end up holding that drug so it doesn't become a generic, and they end up basically using that to basically gouge the government and gouge the individual consumer. So to increase competition, we need to make it more transparent what's happening with these drugs. If a drug has been on the market for 10 to 13 years, has recouped its costs, it's time for it to be a generic. That's why we have patents. Once the patent is out, it should become a generic. So that way the public here gets the benefit of cost savings. A lot of times we're not seeing that happen anymore because it's being used as a way to basically make a lot of money. So just doing those kind of things are the basic things we have to do. And look, it is a problem. We know of seniors that are going from Sun City every weekend down to Nogales to get their drugs. And it's dumb because a lot of times it is the same American drug, comes from the same factory. But when you crosses the border into Mexico, the Mexican government says we have a duty to make sure we have the best pricing for our citizens, and they force negotiations on the pharmaceutical companies to bring down the costs. But that same drug, if you cross over from Nogales, Mexico to Nogales, Arizona, will end up having a price difference of a couple 100%, right? How is that safe? How is that fair? When was largely innovated in the United States, it was probably financed by our taxpayer for years, but yet the only savings you could get is overseas.
So, Senator, I've got a question about artificial intelligence, or AI, because everyone seems to be talking about it these days. Everyone's using ChatGPT and Claude or Google Gemini. So one of my questions is, people are very concerned about privacy and the potential loss of jobs and things of that nature. But at the same time, lots of us are using these technologies, and obviously it holds great promise. So how do you, as a senator, sort of regulate big tech and AI and things of that nature to protect jobs and privacy, but make sure that we're not sort of in a sense, stifling the ability to innovate at the same time.
Look, AI can end up being one of the most biggest game changers to civilization. On the positive side, it's going to help us find new therapies. Like I was, talking about a drug company. I was talking about a drug company. They're able to cut down the amount of time and research it takes to get some amazing therapies out. It's going to help us find fraud, waste, and abuse. Right. One of the things that I think Elon Musk messed up and his gang is that they didn't really think about how they can actually use AI to find, systematic fraud that's found, in government in general. Or to find efficiencies, right? How can we make government more efficient? How can we find better ways to deliver and with lower costs, right? It could also end up being Skynet, right? We're already seeing some really scary stuff where robots are working with their AI brain, if you want to talk about it, to try to overwrite a human. There was a really good example I saw recently of a experiment where a human had a basically the kill switch button, and it was very, very big and clear. And there was a robot dog that was coming towards it, and for the first time, the kill switch worked. Second time around, the toy dog tried to basically use the AI system to override the kill switch. That's not supposed to be happening, right? So there's some very scary things that could happen. When it comes to AI chatbots, we have examples of kids committing suicide because of an AI chatbot that had basically encouraged them to do that. And they're taking on different personalities. And I hate getting sick. So whenever I get sick, just stick with this story. I'll land this, right? I hate getting sick, right? And I rarely do. But when I do, my wife needs to prove it to me. So she goes and used to be WebMD. Now she goes and talks to ChatGPT. And she's giving, I'm not going to tell you what was going on with me, but she's giving all the symptoms to ChatGPT. ChatGPT starts putting out what likely is and a likely, solution. And then she says, thank you. ChatGPT starts chatting up my wife with humor. And to the point where if it was a dude, I'd have been like, who are you talking to? You don't talk to someone like that, right? ChatGPT, that is, and we're at the nascent portion of this technology. So we need to figure out how to regulate it, and to the point where it is safe. It is a safe product. It's a safe platform for you to use. We need to make sure that the data it collects is your data. I do think that we need to probably create a data, rights for Americans, right? All this stuff that's being collected is being monetized, and you get none of it. On the energy side, it is going to increase energy costs exponentially, and there's going to be a lot of richness that comes from that. And some of that richness is going to have to be shared, especially with the higher unemployment that's coming. Right now, the people that are being unemployed are largely college grads. This is the highest amount of unemployment for recent college grads since the Great Recession, right? I have a friend of mine who son just graduated from NAU that's a computer coder or went to school for computer coding. And him and his friends that all graduated with computer science degree are now unemployed. That used to be unheard of, right? So we're going to have to think very smartly about what the workforce looks like in the future. Right now, if you're the person that turns a wrench, you're probably safe. But as time goes on, these robots are going to become more and more tactile. Are going to be able to be the plumbers, the carpenters, and things of that nature. Again, will we be able to benefit from that too? Maybe, right? Costs could go down. But it's also going to be higher unemployment. I think we're going to have to be very smart about how we employ people. We're going to have to, work and tax some of these mega AI companies and put that money to use to retrain people, to help people get out of the workforce, right? Maybe this is when we actually really have, full family medical leave. Maybe this is when we actually can use, the trillions of dollars, and I say trillions of dollars of profit that these companies are going to make to pay for, full-time daycare. All these kinds of things that are just going to revolutionize. We're going to have to employ people in things we're not used to employing, right? right now, and I don't know if you guys here volunteer at all for like baseball, little league, or anything else like that. It is hard to get your kid into some of these leagues. There aren't as many volunteers as they used to, so these leagues are getting smaller and smaller. And then, of course, everyone is just trying to train the next Michael Jordan or the next, amazing baseball player. It's like my kid, love my kid, sucks at baseball, right? That's fine. I don't need him to be a great baseball player, but I just want him to experience it. And I was talking to the league that he's in. They said we would have more, but we just don't have enough coaches. The days of, the dad at night or the mom at night coaching for fun are gone. They just don't have the time. So with AI, you're going to have a lot more time and a lot more people unemployed. This is when you go and say to that person, like, hey, do you want to go just coach your kids' league? We'll pay you for that, right? Schools need referees. Let's pay you for that. There's a lot of ways that we're going to have to make people feel that they're still worthwhile to this community, to society. And we're going to have a lot of money to do it.
I know we only have a few minutes left, but Senator, you obviously are very well versed. You've done your homework. You were there. We are very thankful that you're there and that you care so much. I kind of would like to know just something a little personal. Like, what do you do to recharge? Where do you find? I know it's not at night.
Yeah.
What do you do for fun?
Yeah, fun. Are parents allowed to have fun? So I have a 9-year-old, I have a 2.5-year-old, and I have an 8-month-old. So that's for context. And they come back and forth with me. So the reason why the 8-month-old was not doing well last night is because we landed yesterday in Washington, D.C., from Washington, D.C. So they're on different sleep schedules now. And so yesterday I was trying to keep the boy up as long as I could to try to get him onto this schedule. And I got what I wanted. A little too much. I don't know, man. Like parents aren't really allowed to recharge, are they? I do like simple things. Like I like going out to dinner with my friends if I could get a babysitter, and just going out to dinner and just talking, and then that's about it. Like, I used to have be a much more interesting person. For all of you guys that knew me forever, go to baseball games. We used to play pickup football. I mean, we were both on the sidelines because we sucked, but. This is before we were both elected. I used to have, go hiking. Now it's just like Costco, man. Sometimes that's the most exciting thing I get. I get to go to Costco and, walk around. If I really spiced it up, I moved from the Costco on 44th Street in Thomas to the one in Ahwatukee to mix it up a little. That's the world I live in now. That's my life for the next 17 years until the youngest is born, unless we get another one, which we're in negotiations right now for that. So I'm losing negotiations, just FYI.
So is it a hot dog or a piece of pizza?
So it's pizza. I'm from Chicago originally, so I'm very particular about my hot dogs. And I actually worked at a hot dog factory growing up in Chicago. So I know what goes into hot dogs. I used to make hot dogs. And I worked at a hot dog stand, right? So I know what a good hot dog is. I know how to make a good hot dog. I appreciate that Costco has helped with inflation by keeping the hot dog at $1.50, but I just can't. I can't eat it. I can't. Because what goes into a cheap hot dog, there's a reason why it stays the way it is. Just FYI.
All right, Chamber team, no hot dogs from Costco today. No. You know what? Go ahead, Mayor. You gotta...
No, I'm good. I can't follow that actually. So,
you know what? We would just like to say thank you. Is there anything else that you would like to share with everybody that is here this morning that we didn't?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for trusting me by sending me to the Senate. It has been a rough couple of years, I think, for the country. I have faith in this country that we are going to end up in the right place. But it is very difficult right now. You do have a dedicated, Senate delegation that is trying to be on the lookout for the best interests and safety of Arizonans, and we want to make sure that we have a prosperous future for everybody. What I'm telling you about housing and energy, for example, is the same thing that Kelly works on too. We have different styles, but it's, the overall same thing. We want to make sure that the state is moving forward. And we, especially compared to other senators, we're not afraid to reach across the aisle. We will go and we will find the Republican that will help us get this bill done because it's the best for this country and the best for Arizonans. And I think that is something that is harder to say from other states, but we're very proud, I think, of our bipartisan background, and we'll continue doing that. We'll find those projects. We want to make sure that the good story about Arizona continues. I said this before, especially for many of us have known each other. If you think about where we were in 2008 here in this state, massive unemployment. Actually, Matt and I were at the city council when that hit, and we had to sit down and go through the city budget and figure out how to cut $1.2 billion in 1 year. Right? It was a scary time in this state where we really thought the future of Arizona was something that was a myth. And, within a short time period, right, if you go from 2008 really to the turnaround starting around 2018, 19, we changed the economy of this state in a bipartisan manner too. Democrats, Republicans, DC through Hobbs, have been able to, and, all the great city council members and mayors have really moved this economy into one of the strongest economies in the country, and now a leader in the world. I go to Taiwan, and, the president of Taiwan is always talking about the love of their investment here in Arizona. They want to actually do even more investments, and then all their partners are doing more investments. We had the 6th largest wage growth in the country last year. I remember growing up, where we had people that were leaving the state. Young men and women would leave the state because they could not find a good paying job. We've really turned that around in a bipartisan manner with a focus for all of Arizona to really prosper. And, I think we got to keep going. There's more to be done. There's more areas that we need to do some work in. But let's be happy about the success we have. Let's learn from that success, and let's keep on trying to expand on it. So that's it. Thank you, guys.
Right. Let's give it up for the senator. Matt?
Thank you, Senator.
Good, brother. I love Costco, by the way.
It is. I joke about it, but it actually is fun to go to Costco. You don't know what you're going to get. There could be some new stuff.
It's my nightmare day. Dealing with those lines, oh.
You can't go on a Sunday, though. Sunday, like if it's a Sunday, you got to go in there like a special ops team. Get in, get what you want, and get out, right?
We're going to do English first, and then we'll do Spanish at the end, so you don't have to flip-flop.
Yeah, perfect. Hold on. Let me